Good morning. Not a lot to talk about today. It's a fairly quiet week here in Hong Kong for new movies. Um, it's a Jewish film actually called The Aftermath is opening today, but the distributor has not supported it at all, so I haven't had a chance to see it. Um, so I can't talk about that. But the big film opening today here in Hong Kong is Dumbo. But guess what? The screening was last night. I was at another movie. I haven't seen it. I can't talk about it. So I'm going to talk about another movie that I saw that opens today called The Sisters Brothers. I think it might have played already in North America, or at least in some markets, um, but it's just opening here now. It's the latest film by French director Jacques Audiard, and you might know him. He did some really wonderful films called Deepan, Rust and Bone, A Prophet, The Beat That My Heart Skipped. He won quite a few awards for these films. Some of the films, he's won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. I think he won, did he win an Oscar? Might have been nominated for an Oscar. I'm not sure if he won an Oscar. But in any case, he's won quite a few awards. And this is his first English language directorial debut. And he also wrote the screenplay for this film. And it's very, very different than anything he's ever done. Very interesting. The film stars John C. Reilly, who's had an amazing year. We're talking about 2018 because he was in Stan and Ollie, which I haven't seen, hasn't come to Hong Kong yet, got good reviews. He was in Holmes and Watson, haven't seen, hasn't come to Hong Kong yet, got terrible reviews. And he's the voice of Ralph in Ralph Breaks the Internet and Wreck-It Ralph. So that's the voice that you hear when you watch those two animated films. And now he's in this film. Film also stars Joaquin Phoenix. People would know him from many films lately. You Were Never Really Here, wonderful film. Well, wonderful is a strange word. Wrong word. Strange film. Interesting film. Really, I enjoyed the film, but I like the book better, I think. Mary Magdalene, awful film. It's funny, Mary Magdalene, I think, is playing in North America right now because I saw it here. It played here like over a year ago, I think. And I'm all of a sudden it's getting a lot of my review on my website is getting a lot of hits from from North America for this film, Mary Magdalene. It's crap. And he was in Irrational Man, the Woody Allen film, which was not very good. I mean, he was okay, but the film was not good. And he was in Her, which I really liked, but my cousin in Scarsdale, New York, did not. So he co-stars in this film, and they play the sisters brothers. So their surname is sisters. So John C. Reilly plays Eli. He's very introspective, and I assume he's the older brother. And there's Charlie Sisters, who's played by Joaquin Phoenix. He's really hot-headed. He likes to drink. He's got a big mouth, and he's sort of a loose cannon, so to speak. So they're sort of like chalk and cheese. But their jobs in this movie, these characters do, they're basically hitmen for a fellow named the Commodore, who's played by Rutger Hauer. Now, if you remember the old Blade Runner film, the first one with Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer was in it. He was one of the replicants, and we haven't seen Rutger Hauer in a long time. So I'm sure he's been in other films, but I haven't seen them. Probably like B and C, D grade films. So he's in this film. It doesn't have any words. It doesn't have any lines, and if you sort of blink, you miss him. In fact, I didn't even realize it was him until the credits rolled, and I went, "Oh my God, Rutger Hauer!" So yeah. So if you go see the film, it's Rutger Hauer who plays the Commodore. Now the Commodore is sort of like he's a mobster in Oregon City. The movie takes place in the American Pacific Northwest in 1851, which is the time of the California Gold Rush, and so the Commodore has hired the Sisters Brothers to track down a guy by the name of Herman Kermit Warm. Interesting name, Herman Kermit Warm. Here it's played by Riz Ahmed. He's a comedian, and he was recently in Venom. And Mr. Warm is a soft-spoken man who has invented a chemical formula that when you pour it into water, it lights up gold so that you can see the gold that's sitting on the riverbed. Sort of like, it's basically fishing in a barrel, so to speak, when it comes to gold. So the Commodore wants the brothers to find Mr. Worm, torture him for his formula, and then kill him. And to help these guys, the Commodore has also hired this erudite man by the name of John Morris, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. And he's sort of like a bounty hunter. And he's been hired to track Worm down, deliver him to the brothers. So you have these two groups trying to find Worm. And what happens is events don't go quite as planned when Morris, that's Gyllenhaal's character, Morris decides to team up with Worm to get gold. And Eli, that's Riley's character, starts giving more thought to hanging up his six-shooter and living a quiet life. He's starting to say, yeah, maybe this was good when we were younger. I'm at an age now. It's time now to retire being a gunslinger. Well, I guess no, he's a crook, basically. Now, the film, as I said, the screenplay was written by Audiard, but it's based on a 2011 novel of the same name by Canadian expatriate writer Patrick DeWitt. I think he lives in Oregon now, but he is Canadian. The film rights were bought by John C. Reilly. And then Reilly asked for Audiard to come and adapt the screenplay and direct the film. I don't know why. It's funny, Audiard was at my screening, and somebody asked the question, why did you choose this film? And he said, I didn't choose it, the film chose me. He says, I was asked. So he didn't say why he, of all people, was asked. Maybe he doesn't know. But that's what happened. He was asked to write the screenplay and direct the film. Now, for the most part, it's fairly enjoyable. I'd say the performances are much better than the story. The performances make the movie. So, and especially John C. Reilly's performance was the best of all of them. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal, interesting. He put on what might be described as a quasi-New England Pilgrim accent. Yeah, you could see maybe, this was a film, maybe this character was somebody who grew up in sort of, the east side of America, the Atlantic coast of America, and now he's come out to California, come out to the West Coast. So, I could see that. It was weird. It was bold. It wasn't a deal killer, but it was different, So, okay. Now, but the story is not nearly as witty as it needs to be. It's not absurdly funny as you might think. If you've seen the trailer, the trailer just does not tell you it's a completely different movie. It's just like if you watch the trailer and you'll see the movie, you're going to say, hey, I want my money back, because it's a very different movie than what you see in the trailer. I mean, all those scenes are in the movie, but those are all the funny scenes in the movie, and they've been sort of smashed together and put in the trailer. And so you have this impression that this is just this riotous, absurd comedy, and it's not. I mean, there are these comedic parts to it, but it is not. And the unfortunate thing is Audiard thinks it is. Audiard thinks that it's like this really witty, hip film, and it's not. I'm sorry, Mr. Audiard, you're a wonderful director, but you're just, you're dreaming with this one. The biggest problems with the film is that it's too long. It's about 20 minutes too long. The film is just over 2 hours. I think it's 2 hours and 1 minute. After I saw the film, I turned to my friend and I said, this film's 20 minutes too long. And I've heard other people say the same thing. It is too long. And the tonal shifts that it just, I'd say the first, half, 3/4 of the movie, it's fairly light. These guys are chalk and cheese, as I said, and how they're dealing with each other and trying to find this character at the same time. And so it's fairly light, and then all of a sudden it gets really dark really fast, and you just go, whoa, like what happened here? Like the tone of the film just went 180 degrees, and you're so close to the end of the film, you think, well, how are you going to get out of this tonal shift? And the film is like clawing its way back for the last, I'd say, 15 minutes, let's say, to try to get back into humorous territory. It almost reaches it, but you're sitting there. At least I was sitting there. My friend was sitting there, going, "What happened? These are two different movies that have been smashed together." So I think that was not good. I haven't read the book. I know that the movie isn't, the story in the movie, the screenplay isn't quite the same as the book. I know there have been changes made to it. I think I would like to read the book just to see if the tone really shifts to that extreme. I don't know that it does. Um, can't comment on it. If anybody's read the book, let me know. I'd be curious to know. So, and as I said, at the director was at my screening. Seems like a nice guy. He answered questions very nice. He wore running shoes. Um, he said at the screening, he said, this film is an exploration of what it means to be a man. That he added that Charlie and Eli, who were still adolescents at heart, were finally growing up. I think that theme might have been clearer in the book. It really wasn't so clear in the movie. You know, at the very last scene, I'm not going to tell you what happens in the last scene, but the very last scene, you see, okay, yeah, they're starting to grow up, and well, maybe, you know, I don't know. Yeah, you know, and I understand the last scene is similar to the book, in some respect. In some respects, it's similar to the book. So, you know, you see Eli, as I said, Eli's trying to say, okay, this was good when we were younger. Now we're adults. Now we need to be responsible and, you know, be adults. You know, to me, this was not the big theme of the movie. If you ask me what the big theme of the movie is, I don't know. But I think if this is really what the theme should have been, it wasn't developed enough. That's my opinion. It wasn't developed enough. So my opinion with this film, it's a take it or leave it proposition. I think based on what I've heard about Dumbo and what I've heard about the other film, The Aftermath, this might be the best film that's opening here in Hong Kong this week, but that's a low bar for your horse to leap over. There is one good thing about this film. Well, there's a few good things about this film, but one especially good thing is that there's a cameo by Carol Kane, not Carol King, Carol Kane, who, if you're of my age, or if you love old television shows, she was in Taxi. She was Andy Kaufman's wife. What was her name? His name was Latka. I forget what her name was, but she was the wife of the taxi driver Latka. And it's nice to see her. I haven't seen her in years. So, and in fact, she was another one. Actually, I recognized her when I looked. You know, I went, whoa, that's Carol Kane. I haven't seen her in years. So that was nice to see her on the screen again. So there's a good reason to go see the film. So I'd say, you know what? It's okay. It's not great. It's not as good as the director thinks it is. It's not as good as it should be, but it's okay. And if you're not into flying elephants, go see it. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about. Next week, I got 4 films. 2 I've already seen. 2 I'm going to see. The big film opening next week is Shazam, which I'm seeing on Saturday night. It's getting good reviews. The other big film opening next week is Pet Sematary, also getting good reviews. So those are the 2 that I haven't seen yet, but I will be seeing between now and next Friday. So I got 4 films to talk about. Don't know how I'm going to do it in less than 30 minutes, but I'm going to try. Actually, one of them is pretty awful, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. And the third film I saw last night, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, all right. So that's it. See you next week. Bye.